Hello and welcome into another episode of Locked On Wolves. Today on the show, it's the post-game pod from a Timberwolves win over the Charlotte Hornets, their first real convincing, dominant win of the season. We'll break down what was so great about their offense and also what they did better on defense than they have all season long to this point, 2 weeks in. But still, a really encouraging performance. We'll break it all down next. Welcome in. You are Locked On Wolves.
You are Locked On Timberwolves, your daily Minnesota Timberwolves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Wolves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ben Beecken. I'm the host of Locked On Wolves. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Tuesday, everybody, and it is a victory Tuesday after a big Wolves win on Monday night. Yes, it was over the Charlotte Hornets, but it was clearly, very easily, the best game the Wolves have played wire-to-wire this season on what is now they're 5 games into the season. But we'll take it. We'll take a performance 7 games into the season. We'll take a performance that is nearly wire-to-wire. A nearly wire-to-wire victory. And again, I'll use the word I used in the open, dominant. I thought they were dominant for the majority of this game. So we'll break down everything that was so encouraging about it and why I'm willing to look past the fact that it was against the Hornets. We'll do all that here next. A big thank you off the top for making Locked On Wolves your first listen every single day. Of course, this show is free and available everywhere. That includes YouTube as well as all of your favorite audio platforms. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find Locked On Wolves. You can also watch on the Locked On Sports Minnesota app on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. And you can sign up for the new Locked On Wolves daily newsletter. It's one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox every day. Sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. Again, LockedOnDaily.com to start your day with the all-new free Locked On Wolves newsletter. All right, so the Wolves came into this thing following, the Monday show. I talked all about the Spurs loss on Saturday. That was a schedule loss, playing, I don't know, like when they get into San Antonio, like 2, 3 in the morning. They played 7 o'clock that night. There were a lot of things that were tough about it. And it over the course of the NBA season, you have some of those schedule losses. It just happens. But then you have to respond by beating the teams on regular rest that you need to beat. And that's what the Wolves did on Monday. And they beat them easily enough that nobody had to play more than 30 minutes in this game. Anthony Edwards only played 29 minutes. Rudy played 30. Julius Randle only played 25. And you have to do that over the course of a long season. Now they get 2 days off in a row. They don't play again until Thursday. And then they have another back-to-back upcoming. Is it Thursday, Friday? I think it's Thursday, Friday. So they have another quick back-to-back, 3 games in 4 days. So you have to win this. If they had lost this game, it wouldn't feel like a normal loss. It would be losing to a bad team, going 3 and now you're 3 and 4. You got a back-to-back later this week. Now the vibes are completely different because they took care of business. This is really the definition of taking care of business for a good team. The way this game went early on, like the first few minutes, I was actually kind of worried because there was a complete, for as good as they finished this game and as positive as overall this podcast is going to be today, the first couple minutes I was concerned. I mean, Taj Gibson made a 3, I think it was the first bucket of the game, which is weird in and of itself. But Taj made a hustle play and got an offensive rebound and scored around Jaden McDaniels. Jaden had inside position. He's long, every bit as long as Taj Gibson. And Taj got around and beat him to the ball. And it was like, all right, so we're doing this again. This is the effort level we're going to put forth. And it's sometime kind of late first, early second quarter, it shifted. Maybe it was the first bench stint where it really kind of really started to feel like, hey, okay, the Wolves are going to be all right tonight. But they surged ahead in that second quarter with kind of a combo. It was really kind of a combo bench starter unit. Not that Chris Finch is very rarely is it 5 bench guys out there at a time. In fact, I don't think ever, except for garbage time this season, because Finch has only played 9 rotation guys a game. But it was sometime in that second quarter where things really started to shift. We saw Ant from the beginning played well. And I thought was active all over the floor. He had 5 rebounds again, which is great in just 29 minutes. But he was it was kind of Cat used to do this where Cat would shoot the three to open himself up to drive. It's a little bit like how NFL teams, it used to be the old establish the run, or score in the paint to get yourself open for threes, or establish in the paint first. The old establish the run in the NFL, establish the paint in the NBA. Now it's the opposite, and that's what Anthony Edwards did. He knocked down 3 threes right away in the first quarter and forced Charlotte to come out on him and guard him beyond the arc. He was 3 of 3 on threes. And then once he did that, he started getting into the paint. He drove into the paint, got fouled, made 1 of 2 free throws. He drove into the paint, had a nice assist. And then when he came back in the game in the second quarter, he had a couple more quick assists. I guess he ended up with 1 assist on the game and a couple more passes that then led to hockey assists for sure. He had one where he drove baseline, kicked it to the opposite corner, and then it was 1 or 2 passes to another open three. It was Ant's 3-point shot and the threat of the 3-point shot from Ant that opened up opportunities for him to drive and kick, opened up opportunities for him to free up teammates for shot attempts, and ultimately get himself to the free throw line. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. But I thought early on, Ant, everything Ant did early in this game was really impressive. It was kind of the opposite of what we saw for a lot of that San Antonio game. And of course, that sort of variance is going to happen over the course of a season. And we certainly see it night to night from Ant. But of course, the next step is that consistency where it happens very rarely. I think Ant's only assist in this game, I'm actually like 99% sure his only actual assist in this game was a lob to Rudy. And that was, I think, early second quarter when Ant got back into the game after taking his rest mid-second quarter, which, by the way, we're starting to see like at least one of those a game where Ant gets a lob to Rudy that's converted into a bucket. And it's the threat of that, and it's the fact that Ant's looking for it that is, it's just as impactful as them actually scoring a bucket on the play. And obviously, you'd rather score the bucket than not. But it's the idea. It's the thought that counts, right? And again, for Ant, it's the ability, or I should say the threat to do that keeps defenses on their toes. He's already a 3-level scorer. But to add in the fact that, hey, at any point in time, I'm going to throw a lob to Rudy. I'm going to skip it cross court for an open corner, a 3-point shot from the corner for my teammate. And those are all facets of his game that he showcased early. And because he only played 29 minutes, the line is only 21 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. But he got 21 points on 11 shots and 5 rebounds in 29 minutes. Was a very good open to this game for Anthony Edwards. And it was also contagious. It spread to the rest of the team. The ball movement was very good in this game. They ultimately shot 49% from the floor, which is nearly 10 points higher than what Charlotte shot from the floor. They were 47% outside the arc, 18 of 38. Charlotte shoots a ton of threes, just like the Wolves. Minnesota shot 4 less, but they made 8 more than Charlotte. And it was the quality of the 3-point looks. They made some deep ones. Naz and Donte DiVincenzo especially hit some deep threes. But like Ants were all in rhythm. Some were contested. None were super deep. But besides that, like everything else that they were getting off 3-point wise, like it was within the flow of the offense and it made sense. There were a couple times they missed the 3, but it led to an offensive rebound because of, and you could see this is certainly something they talk about as a team, where if you could get a 3 in transition or in a broken floor situation, and there's Rudy or Randle or somebody down in the paint in rebounding position to try and get an offensive rebound, that's a good shot because hopefully the 3 goes in. But if it doesn't, I don't know, you got something close to a 50-50 shot at a rebound too, which an offensive rebound a lot of times is going to lead to a putback, a foul, a kick out for another 3-point opportunity, or at the very least a reset. So that sort of kind of recognition and flow within the offense and playing with confidence that the Wolves showcased was very apparent and effective in this game. All right. I want to get into talking about the defense because that has been the biggest issue early this season. Like they've been good offensively. It's the defense that has been letting them down. So I want to get into that next. And then of course we'll close the show with some individual studs and duds. So all that's upcoming here next. Today's episode of Lockdown Wolves is brought to us by our friends at Built. Listen up. If you're a renter, you might feel like you're stuck in a loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air. That's It happens. That's what renting feels like sometimes. It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. And that's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points toward a flight or hotel stay with 500 or more airlines, more than 500 airlines, and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/LocdownNBA. That's joinbuilt, joinbilt.com/LocdownNBA. Make sure to use our URL, the Lockdown NBA URL, so that they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/LocdownNBA to start earning points with your rent payments today. Today's episode is also brought to us by our friends at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can get your tickets for really any live event at Game Time. They'll also curate your selections to make it easier to save more on what you want to attend, whether it's a sporting event, a concert, comedy show, theater, or more. You can also toggle on their all-in pricing feature to show you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, and get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with their seat views. Plus, their lowest price guarantee means that Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a better price somewhere else. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKDOWNNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKDOWNNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. Let's get into the defense and why what the Wolves did was so encouraging. And look, again, I'll acknowledge it because, I think I can see the comments already. Like, this is what is going to be said. It was the Hornets. Yeah, it was. I mean, first of all, the Hornets haven't been awful so far this season. I don't expect them to be good. They're not good overall, but they're not an awful team. And offensively, they've certainly got a lot of firepower. And I should also acknowledge they're shorthanded. And this will go along with the whole this whole segment anyway, given that it's Charlotte, right? And they not only were shorthanded, but they were missing bigs. But Charlotte came into this game shooting the second most threes per game, third in three-point rate, and fourth in three-point percentage. Okay? Fourth in three-point percentage. So 39.5% from outside the arc. The Wolves right now are, I'm going to get the exact percentage that the Wolves came into the game shooting. The Wolves came into the game shooting 38.6%. So fifth in the league. Charlotte was third in the league coming in, or fourth in the league, excuse me. So right next to each other. And they both attempt a ton of threes. So Charlotte obviously still has firepower. They've got LaMelo Ball. They've got Miles Bridges, who, scored a bunch last year. So far coming into this game, LaMelo was averaging over 30 points per game and shooting 40.5% from outside the arc. So even though they were missing some bigs, even though they were a bit shorthanded in the front court, the Wolves still had to put together a strong defensive performance. And if you watch the game in San Antonio on Saturday, and if you watched, obviously Dallas is a completely different animal than San Antonio or Charlotte, but the Dallas game, at times the Denver game, the defense has been spotty. And there's been positive moments, like the fourth quarter against Dallas when the Wolves almost pulled it out last Tuesday. That was great. Stretches of the game against Denver, it was great. Most of the game against San Antonio was horrible. The Lakers game, it was bad. Sacramento was mostly bad defensively, even though they won that game. So to see the Wolves defend for basically, it wasn't 48 full minutes, but the vast majority of the game on Monday night was super encouraging against a team that could still put up points. Offensive rating-wise, they were still a top 10 offense. It's the defense that struggled so much for Charlotte. So I already talked about how the Wolves' offensive flow was great. That was, surely partly a function of Charlotte just being a miserable defensive team that was playing shorthanded in their front court. But the Wolves' defense was going against a decent, to this point, a good offensive team. Basketball Reference, 7th at an offensive rating, and 3rd in 3-point rate, and 4th in 3-point percentage. And also a good offensive rebounding team. Again, shorthanded, I get it, yes. But the Wolves did what they needed to do. They finished the game a +7 rebounding. They had 9 offensive rebounds, the exact same number as Charlotte, and they finished with the same number of points in the paint. Should the Wolves have had a greater advantage? Yes, they should have. Now, some of that got skewed toward the end of the game in garbage time. Like, I'm just looking at the raw box score numbers. That's not going to, that stuff gets filtered out later on cleaning the glass, right? The garbage time stuff. Heading into garbage time, I'm sure the Wolves had an advantage in points in the paint, but they finished even at 40 apiece. They finished again +6, I think +7 on the glass overall. And the same number of offensive rebounds as Charlotte. They had 10 more free throw attempts, which was partly due to their aggressiveness. They will still struggle a little bit from the line, or have struggled to this point from the line this season. But I thought the point of attack defense was overall a little bit better, which certainly helps out the interior defense. The interior defense was really good. Rudy only had 1 block, and it actually didn't come in the paint. It came outside the paint. Jaden had 2 blocks. Naz had a block that was a really impressive block. Donte DiVincenzo had 2 blocks. Overall, the Wolves had 8 blocks in this game. Charlotte only had 1. And obviously, that's not the measure of interior of paint defense, but it was solid. The paint defense overall for Minnesota was, and that to me is the big story from this game. Even if Charlotte's starting, Taj Gibson at center, and Grant Williams is like basically your next biggest guy, besides, some guys that aren't really rotation guys like Diabate, and there's a couple other guys mixed in there that are bigs that aren't really rotation type guys. But really impressive that the Wolves did come to play. It would have been easy to roll over and say, this is another team that we can easily. And again, I think the first few minutes of the first quarter felt that way. That's where this felt like it was going. But then ultimately, I thought the Wolves did a really good job of locking in and playing effective. It started on defense, effective defense that led to offensive opportunities. Okay, so those to me are my biggest takeaways from this one. Let's go through a couple of. Let me see. I'm trying to decide if I want to go all the way into studs and duds. I think we can do that. I think we can start studs and duds here, because I want to spend a little bit more time on a couple of these guys individually. Like, usually what I'll do is I'll do key takeaways, some game flow stuff. Not a whole lot of game flow to hit here because this was a blowout. There was 8 minutes of garbage time at the end of the game. And I usually save studs and duds for the last segment only. But let's launch into that now, because I want to spend a little bit more time on a couple of players. Let's start with studs, as I typically will. We talked about Ant already, so he's obviously a stud. I don't have much else to say about him, but he played very well. Let's talk about Naz. Naz Reid had 25 points in 26 minutes in this game. He was 9 of 13 shooting, 5 of 7 outside the arc. A couple of those came when the game was basically decided. Like, Naz opened garbage time with this barrage of threes, and then Finch took him out as soon as he could. Called a couple of timeouts just to get, Donte and Naz out of the game. Naz had 9 boards in 26 minutes, which is maybe, like, if I could pick one just number out of the box score, it's Naz getting 9 rebounds in 26 minutes. Because I've been on Naz for years about he's just got to rebound better, especially if he's going to play the 5. And he's been doing that a little bit this year if he plays with Randle. He's got to rebound the ball better. And the other night, I think it might have been Saturday's loss to the Spurs. I think it was, where Naz and Gobert combined for 7 rebounds in 49 minutes. Naz had 9 rebounds himself, 7 defensive rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds in 26 minutes, which was huge. He had 2 assists, a steal, and a block. Only 1 turnover in 26 minutes, was a +33 in his 26 minutes off the bench. Naz was shot ready. I mean, he always is, but he was letting it fly from the perimeter. He was aggressive, putting the ball on the floor. Just a well-rounded Naz Reid. And I mentioned the block earlier. Was a really nice block that he had on the left side of the basket. On the move, just a really athletic play. He looked very comfortable in this game, and super encouraging to see him play this way. Another stud. Let's go Donte DiVincenzo. Donte DiVincenzo had 14 points on 5 of 9 shooting, 3 of 6 on threes, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He played for a really long stint. like most of the third quarter and the first half of the fourth quarter, basically till this game was really put away out of reach. He was an identical plus 33 as Naz was. He did turn it over 4 times, but he had 4 stocks in this game to basically make up for that, plus the 3 assists. The 5 rebounds, tied for third on the team. The Wolves really did gang rebound as a team in this one. And Donte had that 4-point play himself where he got fouled, clear path opportunity at the end of the third quarter, and then hit a step back 3 in the left corner at the buzzer to really kind of make this thing feel like, all right, it's more or less out of reach. Put the Wolves up 20 going to the fourth quarter. And Donte, that was basically like he was a one-man wrecking crew there for a moment. Continues to show strong chemistry with Rudy Gobert. A couple of forced passes, like there's one turnover. Gobert's getting fronted, and it was like kind of secondary transition opportunity, secondary break opportunity. And for some reason, he tried to force a pass into Rudy, and it did not go well, and it was a turnover. It was right when the Hornets were making a little bit of a run. So the turnovers weren't great. But overall, Donte played extremely well and played hard, as he always does. And I thought he was very good defensively as well. All right. I want to close out those are my 3 studs in this game. I want to talk a little bit about Rudy because I thought he had an interesting game. I want to talk a little bit about Conley, and then we'll hit duds as well, which I don't know that I really have duds, but I want to talk about Jaden, who almost ended up in that category. We'll do all that here next to close the show. Today's episode of Locked On Wolves is brought to us by our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Entertaining Bucks and Chiefs game on Monday night for Monday Night Football. We're now 2 days away from the start of the next week of the NFL season. Vikings had a big win on Sunday, a bit of a come-from-behind win. Go check out the Thursday Night Football lines. And, of course, the Wolves also play next on Thursday night against Chicago. So check that out on FanDuel as well. And the adjusted, kind of updated season win total lines at FanDuel, too. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to us by SKIMS. Guys, sometimes intimate moments can happen spontaneously. Everybody wants to be ready to perform in the bedroom. SKIMS provides access to treatments that can help you be ready and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. SKIMS is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. SKIMS provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, SKIMS can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS, HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. HIMS.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right, let's finish up studs and duds here. Duds, I'm not going to give anybody a dud in this game. The Wolves played extremely well. Jaden McDaniels was tracking there, and then he had this crazy flurry in the third quarter that really kind of saved the night for him and honestly helped the Wolves pull away. He had missed his first, I think, 6 shots in the game, including a couple of wild, like, he had a couple threes going in and out early in the game, and got him off on the wrong foot. He had a wild reverse attempt that he missed that was rebounded and dunked home, I think, by Rudy in the third quarter. And it really felt at that point like he was just searching. of all things, his first shot that he made was a pump fake dribble just beyond the elbow, the right elbow, in the third quarter that he made. And then he hit a three, and he had another shot that he made, I think, in the paint, and ended up finishing with 9 points on 10 shots. Not great. But because within that stretch, he also had a nice rebound. He had a nice block, finished with a couple of blocks. That stretch was solid for Jaden. He ended up only playing 22 minutes in this game. And overall, the first 7 games of the season have been, I don't want to say worrisome, but they haven't been up to par for Jaden. But the way he kind of pulled it all together in the third quarter of this game was encouraging for sure. And I commend him for that. And he kept himself out of the dud category, if nothing else. But also, seriously, like, I thought helped, I don't say turn the tide, but like Charlotte had made a bit of a run. I think it was like an 18-point lead that had gotten down to like 10-ish. And Jaden was a big part of expanding that lead back up to where it needed to be. So kudos to Jaden for that. Rudy, the line, only played 30 minutes, so 8 points, 8 rebounds, but he did have 4 assists in this game too. 4 or 5 shooting, converted a couple of lobs, had one kind of crazy shot attempt that he missed. I think he airballed a hook shot from like 4 feet away, which was not great. But beside that, he looked really comfortable, had a couple of nice passes of his 4 assists, very impressive. I think he's tried to be a little bit more creative on dribble handoffs and in pick and roll, short roll situations. And for the most part, it's worked out this season. Not that we really want Rudy being too fancy too often, but I thought he played well. Not enough volume for him to end up in the studs category, but certainly not a dud in this game. I thought Rudy played very well. Julius Randle, fairly quiet, had one very nice pass to a cutting. Was it Ant along the baseline? I don't remember. It was a great pass though. And I thought he played well. Shot selection was good. A couple of moments with the spacing with him and Rudy was off, but we're still kind of working through that early season stuff with him. 13 points on 10 shots in just 25 minutes for Randle. 4 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, only 1 turnover. We should talk about garbage time. Josh Minot, Rob Dillingham each got 8 minutes. Dillingham got a nice ovation when he checked in. Luka Garza got 7 minutes. PJ Dozier and TJ Shannon each played 6 minutes. The Hornets won garbage time by like 7 points. The lead got as big as 30. The Wolves ended up only winning by 21. But activity level was solid. I thought Dillingham actually looked pretty comfortable. He was in the jersey of the guy he was guarding defensively on the defensive end of the floor. Had one like real nice burst from the left side of the floor to the right in transition. Ended up scoring on a goaltend. That wasn't his first basket. It was his second basket. Scored on a goaltend. Not sure the ball would have gone in, but it was a great first step and great burst to get to the rim. That's exactly what the Wolves want to see out of Dillingham. So they'll take 4 points and 2 assists in 8 minutes. TJ Shannon missed his only shot attempt, had a 3 that just missed. Dozier airballed a 3 and did not look comfortable overall. Minot was active. He had a block and a rebound in 8 minutes and, saw a few rotation minutes on Saturday. This, by the way, was the first game. The Wolves only had 8 rotation guys play. Now, there was also 8 minutes of garbage time at the end of the game, but there wasn't a 9th rotation spot, which Joe Ingles had in the first 5 games of the season and Minot had on Saturday against the Spurs. We'll see what this looks like on Thursday. I thought the Wolves would have a 9-man rotation with an occasional 10th man, and instead Finch has gone with an 8-man rotation with apparently now not occasional, but a very small 9th man role where it's, in the 5 to 6 minute range per night, or in the case of this game, there wasn't one. So we'll see what that looks like Thursday. It's one of those really interesting kind of early season storylines to follow. All right. Next up, the Timberwolves are in Chicago. This was a nice, just 1 game homestand after a 1 game road trip. They go to Chicago to take on the Bulls on Thursday evening. The Bulls played, I believe that they lost. Yeah, they lost to Utah. It was a game that they were winning, but lost to Utah by 9 on Monday night. The Wolves get the Bulls on Thursday. It's a 7 p.m. tip. It is on NBA TV for whatever that's worth. The Bulls are 3-4 as of right now, and we'll have plenty of time to preview that game on Thursday. The Bulls, by the way, do play on Wednesday at Dallas. So the Bulls played tonight at home. They traveled to Dallas for a 1-game road trip on Wednesday night and then have to come home to take on the Wolves Thursday. So this is another rest advantage situation for Minnesota, like what they had, what they had last Tuesday against the Mavs, which did not work out. Obviously, playing the Bulls is different than playing Dallas, but at any rate, they'll get the Bulls with a rest advantage of 2 days on Thursday in Chicago, and Then after that, the Wolves are back. Let's see. Are they back? I lost my Wolves schedule. I ended up on the Bulls schedule. They play Friday. I'm pretty sure that's the first half of back-to-back. Yeah, and they play Friday back at home against Portland, which is they have 3 games in 4 days against the Blazers. So it's setting up. There's certainly an opportunity. I said this the other day. The 6-game stretch. They should go 5-1 in the 6-game stretch, and it continues Thursday in Chicago. We'll break that down on Thursday's show. We've got a show in between. We've got a Minnesota basketball party in between on Wednesday. So we'll talk about a bunch of stuff on the basketball party on Wednesday as well. So lots of shows here between now and the Bulls game on Thursday night. A big thank you for making Locked On Wolves your first listen every single day. Of course, this show is free and available everywhere. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find Locked On Wolves. You can also watch on the Locked On Sports Minnesota app on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. And you can follow on X at Locked On T-Wolves and also at Beecken with 2 B's, 2 E's, C-K-E-N. A reminder about the Locked On Wolves daily newsletter. You can sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Get your day started with the all-new free Locked On Wolves newsletter. Of course, the Locked On Wolves podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. The Locked On Network is your local experts on all the biggest stories. Once again, I'm Ben Beecken. This is the Locked On Wolves podcast, and we'll catch you next time.